Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2019 MORPC State of the Region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage William Murdoch, Executive Director of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being a part of the 2019 State of the Region. I'm William Murdoch, the Executive Director of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. You all know us as MORPC. MORPC is a regional council of over 65 local governments and regional organizations in Central Ohio in our rural, suburban, and urban areas. Working together with communities to make our region a better place is what we're all about. So together with all of you here today, community leaders, elected officials, nonprofits, businesses, we collaborate to lift the whole region up. We focus on things like social and economic mobility so Central Ohio can really flourish and get to true prosperity. We plan for and invest in economic and human development. Why do we do these things? So Central Ohio can compete on the world stage and thrive as we grow. The planning we do today helps ensure a quality of life for future Central Ohioans. And today, you'll see that we're about sharing and celebrating our work together as we stay focused on the future. But first, I want to start with gratitude. So thank you for the leadership of our local government officials, our community and business partners, and elected officials. Thank you to my dynamic team at MORPC who put this on today and work all year for Central Ohio. I am so humbled by their passion and excellent work, and we should applaud for them, yes. You know, it's our 50th year serving Central Ohio, and that only happens if you've got a good team, really great community leadership, and support from rooms like this. So thank you for your support, especially today. This is the largest State of the Region we've ever held, so we're really excited. We have over 1,000 people. I also want to make sure we thank those who made the event possible. Thank you to our network sponsor, Lyft, and also thanks to all of our sponsors in your program and on the screen. This was an outpouring of support, and we appreciate it. Let's give our sponsors a round of applause. So we all know it. Central Ohio is growing. Our region's going to go from about 2.4 million people today to 3 million people by 2050. And if you've seen the recent numbers, they're striking. We added 43,000 people in 2018. That's 118 people a day. That's enough to fill Nationwide Arena and Maffrey Stadium combined. We like growth. And what growth means is it's more urgent than ever to plan for that growth to make sure it improves our quality of life. And you know that both our enthusiasm and our concerns are both thinking about the future. Now, others are noticing too. And so as a proud Midwesterner and a Buckeye, I usually wince a little at wisdom from the New York Times, but the article got it right recently by clearly describing our mindset. There was an article that said that we are a place that, quote, lives largely in the future tense, and one that, quote, can't take its eyes off the future. And you know, when your regional council's annual theme is planning today, transforming tomorrow, you might say that they got the story right. And this is a big reason why I love Central Ohio, because we firmly believe that our best days are in front of us. But as we've seen in other quickly growing areas of the country, enthusiasm alone isn't going to be enough. It's going to take planning. And planning today is what you do to bridge that gap between growth and prosperity. And that's what MORPC does in 4 ways. So we build relationships, transforming mobility, informing communities, and investing in the future. But it all starts with building strong relationships across the region. And it takes time and trust to tackle big challenges. You gotta know people to work on these challenges. If you wanna be a place with your eye on the future, you're gonna need to work together. And when I think about this, I think about the relationships it took to save the crew earlier this year. If you're a diehard crew fan, you know what dare to be massive means. You might also say that you need massive collaboration to get ready for the future if you're a growing region. And that's exactly what we do at MORPC is massive collaboration. That's our approach. We start with building relationships through conversations. And we are so excited because more communities than ever are at the regional table. Our membership grew from 38 local governments to 66 in the last few years. Communities of all sizes now benefit from working with each other and collaborating, and we're doing more planning and more projects and more services throughout the region. And it's especially true in our rural areas as we better connect and prepare them for growth. Now, just in the last year alone, Hocking County, Knox, Logan, and Morrow joined Delaware, Franklin, Perry, and Union as MORPC's county members. Franklin and Jefferson Townships, the Licking County Soil and Water Conservation District, Plain City, and Lancaster are also on board. From Logan County to Logan in Hocking County, we are thrilled to work with all of you. And you know, growing relationships across the region, that's the heart of our work, and you can also see this in our new brand and logo. Our familiar green and blue colors still reflect that work we do on infrastructure and sustainability, but the varied shapes represent all different sizes of communities coming together to work to make a better region. And you know that building stronger relationships means being very intentional about getting everyone to the table. Whether you're in the city of Mount Vernon or on Mount Vernon Avenue in Columbus, we are fortunate to be in a diverse, growing region. But know that our growth is different and more diverse than before. And you may have seen the Dispatch article this morning, but migration is a key driver. Did you know that since 2010, for every resident that our region gained from natural growth, another one moved into the region? Many more are moving from outside Ohio than ever before, and a significant number from abroad. And you know, we know from our work with Insight 2050 that growth is coupled with big changes in demographics. So to get ready for the future, we need to hear from every corner of the region. It's really important now that we include new voices in our planning, our outreach, and our leadership if we're going to do it right. Whether rural or urban, older adults, millennials, new Americans, racial and ethnic minorities, veterans, or so many others, we need all voices at the table. And you know that MORPC's own inclusion efforts, we know that they need to do more to connect the whole region. And so we've already taken action. We actually convened a diversity and local government effort with Dawn Tyler Lee from Columbus as our chair and representatives from Whitehall to Delaware and a number of community organizations. This task force was engaged, thoughtful, and direct, and their bold recommendations were unanimously adopted by our board last December. And we are just getting started, and we're gonna need your help, and we're gonna need you at the table too. So building relationships is what you gotta start with if you're gonna have any hope of transforming the region. And at MORPC, we wanna make sure that we're transforming mobility for Central Ohio with new planning and better options and more investment. We know that Central Ohio's future involves depending on sustainable infrastructure investment. And last year, I think a number of us know that we all feared the worst. We feared continued underinvestment in our transportation infrastructure. And so we took action. We had leaders from rural, suburban, and urban areas come together to develop 19 actions to address transportation needs and big plans for future mobility. Our region was ready to advocate, and it mattered. Just look at what's happened so far this year. We were ready when the transportation bill became a major focus in January. And through the hard work and brave leadership of the community leaders in this room, and our new governor and ODOT Director Marchbanks and his team, and our region's delegation, a transportation bill was passed that included a number of our recommendations: more funding for transportation, a greater share of funds for communities, new options for local governments with things like the permissive license fee, and more funding for transit. This is a big deal, and it's already having an impact. Just on Monday, ODOT announced it will advance the next phases of the 70-71 split. This is one of Central Ohio's most critical projects, and it's going to move forward thanks to our efforts. And there's more. New transportation improvement districts were created in Franklin and Delaware counties through the thought leadership of folks like Delaware County Engineer Bowserman and Franklin County Engineer Robertson and their county commissioners. These new tools are going to help transform and address critical infrastructure needs in those counties. Developing innovative tools and smart policies are why local governments rely on and lean on MORPC. And whether it's transportation or data or sustainability or regional prosperity, MORPC is where Central Ohio communities come together to create a regional policy approach so we can advocate to our state and federal leaders. This year, both state funding for the census and federal transportation bills are up for reauthorization, and we are ready to assertively advocate for what our region needs. Now, you can't transform mobility without smart planning. And more than ever, MORPC is a resource to help Central Ohio plan that transportation network for the future. We're the hub for community transportation planning for the urbanized area of Franklin and Delaware counties and parts of Licking and Fairfield and Union counties. We're planning for that future right now, where work is underway on our $20 billion 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This is the plan that's set by the goals of all the communities in this room and their vision for the future, and I want to invite you to be a part of it. We're soon going to release our interactive map where you can draw your ideas, give us your dreams, and even give us your complaints so we can make sure we're planning right. And you know that transportation's changing quickly. People want and need more options. MORPC focuses on helping deliver that, things like better planning and investment strategies so we can implement new technologies and deliver projects faster and deliver benefits like better air quality or reduce congestion. But to do this right, we have to plan a system for the whole region. And to do that, we need the whole region to have access to objective tools and expert planning. And that's why MORPC's been really focused on building relationships and extending our expertise to rural counties to better plan for transportation. This is called the Central Ohio Rural Planning Organization. It's a partnership between ODOT, MORPC, and counties in our region's fast-growing rural areas, Fairfield, Knox, Madison, Marion, Morrow, Pickaway, and Union. These counties have come together so that we can help them provide transportation services and create long-range plans to reflect their unique needs and priorities. It's really important to do this so that their projects are positioned for funding and connects to the growth and the technology and the safety research that we're doing. Whether rural or urban, too, we think that transportation safety is a top focus for all of us. And it demands action. If you've seen the numbers, in Central Ohio, in just 2017, 211 people lost their lives on our Central Ohio roads. Over 1,400 serious injuries. This is devastating for too many families. We need to do more. And to address this and our most significant safety concerns, I want to share that we are doing more, that MORPC, ODOT, and others are developing the Central Ohio Transportation Safety Plan. If you didn't know it, 84% of our roads are maintained locally, and so the responsibility for safety falls on the shoulders of local government. This plan will help. It means more action on reducing crash severity and crash frequency. This work will save lives, and we're really proud of it, and we want you to connect to it as best as you can. So, building relationships, transforming mobility. The future is also going to require objective information, and that's where our team comes in. MORPC provides critical data so that communities can make informed decisions about infrastructure and sustainability. And we're thinking big. Last year, led by MORPC's Regional Data Chair and Gahanna Mayor Tom Neeland, MORPC passed our first ever regional data agenda. This focuses MORPC's data leadership on 5 key goals, things like regional collaboration on data, capacity building, best practices, data procurement, inclusion, equity, and especially access. Because creating better access is what's going to allow us to look beyond our enthusiasm for technology and our concerns about growth and really tackle the region's challenges. It's how we know, too, that the benefits of growth aren't touching everyone. Many of our communities continue to face persistent poverty and income disparities, as highlighted in our work and in the Columbus Foundation's recent benchmarking report. Access to data positions us for action. So, building relationships, transforming mobility, informing decisions, we bring them all together by investing in initiatives for the future. And I want to share some of those with you. So, a big one, we've re-energized our approach to economic development and infrastructure. We've focused more than ever on strategies and investments so that we can give the region a competitive advantage. And we've already taken action on this with our economic development partners at Columbus 2020 and community and business leaders in 10 counties. They are all working on something we call the Competitive Advantage Projects Initiative. This identifies the priority projects throughout the region, whether it's fiber or water, sewer, transportation, technology, energy, or even strategic planning. We do this because Central Ohio needs to better plan to access and compete for resources. And this is how we do it, by knowing the projects that we need that are important, by having coordinated information, and being ready to go and go after grant opportunities when they're available, or private financing models, or more. We're not just planning here, we're looking at finding ways to finance and implement these projects. And you know, the region's also doing this on innovative strategies and mobility with things like Smart Columbus, or the Transportation Research Center, the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor, or the 670 Smart Lane. There's so many examples. But Central Ohio, we've actually become literally the place where the future of mobility is being developed. But we need to get the whole region on board and prepared. And that's why we've created the Smart Region Task Force, which is chaired by Dublin's Dana McDaniel. This is going to help us set a shared vision for Central Ohio's communities so that we can all be part of a smart region and extend these really impressive efforts like Smart Columbus. This year, the task force will complete a nation-leading smart streets policy. So smart streets will actually help us integrate technology and advancements into all of our transportation funding. Next up, we're going to have a Smart Region Playbook for all of our programming at MORPC, and a Smart Region Resource Guide so all of our local governments know the steps they need to take to really engage and leverage this. You know, we're also getting ready for game-changing technologies too, and I think all of us are excited because our Midwest Connect proposal to link Chicago, Columbus, and Pittsburgh through the Hyperloop One Global Challenge, we won that. Over 2,600 applicants from 100 countries. We won it, and we kept going to work on it. So MORPC and its partners are working on something we call the Rapid Speed Transportation Plan, which is to bring Hyperloop technology to Central Ohio and the Midwest first. We're studying how Hyperloop and rail could connect together to serve this important corridor on both freight and passengers. And our partner, Virgin Hyperloop One, they're making really great strides at their Nevada testing facility, which has allowed a number of Central Ohio leaders to actually see this real technology up close. And I tell you what, we're going to be ready when they're ready to deploy. We can clap for Hyperloop, that's good. If you think about getting to Chicago or Pittsburgh in under half an hour on the ground safely and calmly, that's pretty cool. It's pretty impactful on the economy. Now, investing in innovative strategies is why MORPC backed another innovative first-of-its-kind effort, and that's in downtown Columbus with the C-Pass. This provides eligible downtown workers with unlimited access to CODA through a smart partnership between CODA, MORPC, and the Capitol Crossroads Special Improvement District. Now, talk about massive collaboration. Let me share the numbers on this. Over 14,000 workers from 400 companies are registered. This is a national model that we've created with our partners to use transit to do things like fill office vacancies and free up parking and help low-wage workers and benefit air quality and reduce congestion on our roads. It's a model for our region to do more, and I know that it's just the beginning, and I want to share that we stand with CODA as their pace of innovation quickens on transit in this region. It's too important for our growth. And freight is also a core part of Central Ohio's economy and its future, and I think we're all familiar with the North American International Freight Hub and Rickenbacker, and we know that this has enormous opportunities for growth, but only if we do it right. We got to make sure that we're positioning it and leveraging it with things like sustainable development and taking action to get it ready for the future. And I'm pleased to share that just next week, MORPC and its local partners are going to release the Rickenbacker Area Study, which is a comprehensive growth strategy with bold goals for transportation, housing, and sustainability. And that's not the only new study that's coming out soon that's going to lead to action. Many of you know that work continues on the agenda-setting Insight 2050 initiative, which is that collaborative effort between MORPC and the Urban Land Institute Columbus and Columbus 2020 and the Columbus Foundation and the partnership and so many communities around the table. We're focused on what we call corridor concepts. So this is that next step of Insight 2050 to connect all that growth and demographic change to better planning for development that actually incorporates mobility and transportation into the planning. This study looks at how walkable, compact environments and high-capacity transit along 5 corridors throughout the region can better connect communities and with downtown and address growth. This is going to be really compelling stuff. We're going to release the findings and next steps later this month, and it's going to move quickly. We want to make this an action-based strategy. And we're also doing more to assist local governments to assist in taking similar actions throughout the region. We did a pilot program with 4 communities, Delaware, Westerville, Worthington, and Violet Township, on this very issue, and it's gone so well that MORPC is going to roll out and make this program a permanent technical assistance program this year. So there will be a lot more to come on this. We've got a good planner in the room. Planning for sustainability is also a key strategy for the region's success. MORPC helps the region with technical assistance on things like water and air quality and energy. We highlight this every fall at a summit on sustainability, but a couple big things I want you to know today. First, if you're a community, you got to see us because we want you to sign up for the Local Government Energy Partnership. This is going to save you money and energy and work with us and our utilities. There's a really cool energy benchmarking tool that's a part of it. This June, we're actually partnering with the Greater Columbus Arts Festival to put 1,000 people on canoes and kayaks to raise awareness around water quality, so make sure you look for the boats. And the last thing, our Sustainable 2050 initiative is helping local governments better plan for and track their sustainability goals. We have over 30 communities that are already engaged in this program. Another way we connect sustainability is through connecting it to transportation, and in a big way, the Central Ohio Greenways Board last year launched a bold vision to add 500 miles of regional trails to Central Ohio. Now, we know from our research that trails add value for residents and businesses on things like connectivity and health and retaining talent. But I think that we should take this goal and run with it. I think in 2019, we should rally around leaders like Letty Shamp, who's our Greenway chair from Hilliard, and Tony Collins from Columbus, and MetroParks' Tim Maloney, to meet this vision, because it would be so impactful if we added 500 miles of trails in 10 years instead of 50. I think we can get this done. And speaking of big ideas, Central Ohio needs to get ahead of the growing housing affordability gap. So also Insight 2050 showed that demographics and preferences are already changing our housing market. If you've seen the recent BIA report, there's a crisis across the housing spectrum in Central Ohio. There's not enough for growth. There's not enough for our workforce or seniors or families. This limits our region's ability to attract new people and businesses. But the good news is in 2019, it's going to be a year of action on housing affordability. I think that our region's leaders are ready to dive into strategies and innovation and investments to really tackle this problem. And just on Monday, MORPC and the City of Columbus released an RFP for a regional housing strategy. We're just getting started, and we're going to need partners from every community across the region to join in and help us tackle this problem together. And this is something that, if you don't know, we actually work on housing affordability every day. I've got a whole team who connects energy efficiency and home repair to do things like stabilize and improve housing. We actually looked at this in our Franklin County Energy Study recently. These programs actually help impact poverty. With partners like Columbia Gas and Franklin County and others, we're actually in 1,200 homes a year impacting health and safety and reducing energy. And for those of you who know me, you know that I could go on and on about MORPC because we are so excited about the work we're doing in the community, but this is just a quick snapshot of what we're doing. It's an exciting time. And we're glad to have Secretary Fox here. You might say that his impact on Columbus is massive because he's been a part of Smart Columbus grants and Smart Corridor grants. He advised on the Hyperloop project, and he supported the Long Street Bridge and Culture Wall. And I want to talk about that. So this vibrantly reconnected the King Lincoln neighborhood to downtown while honoring its past and helping it recover from the tear that the highway put through decades ago. Fox views transportation as a path to a better future, one that can actually lift us up and heal us. And I think that's the right thing to do, and it's personal for many of us to do this right. And I just want to close with a quick story. So my grandparents, one an immigrant who cleaned homes, and the other an adopted farm boy from Iowa who worked on the Civil Conservation Corps, they moved to Detroit for work during the Great Depression. And I love them. I love their stubbornness. I love their frugality and their good humor. But I never understood some things, and I didn't understand their distrust for the city in so many conversations, or why all of their relatives and friends were scattered around the region, and why they didn't like to talk about it. This year I learned why. I learned that a 1940s highway project actually tore through their neighborhood and took their home. And the reason was, of course, growth and development, but it burdened them and their families and neighborhoods with housing issues that lasted a long time. Their neighborhood never recovered, even 70 years later. And it scattered close-knit families, and it caused so much resentment, and who knows what else. And I just share that because your family may have a similar tale. We can't allow this to happen in Central Ohio. We can't allow history to repeat itself. We're growing, we're embracing technology, but we need to plan it in a way that lifts and connects all of Central Ohio. Growth in technology should build up people and their neighborhoods, and that planning we're doing, it's more than just lines on a map. We want our region to thrive as we grow. And so this is the state of the region. It's something my team and I wake up every day to do. We are so excited about that work, and we really hope that MORPC is a resource for you. You know that your presence here today is actually an emphatic endorsement of collaboration and leadership for the future. I'm proud of all of you. But Central Ohio can't flourish unless we connect human development to economic development. And that's why I'm really grateful for our friends at the Columbus Foundation, and I want to tell you why. So from the big table to the tables of families in need, we all know the Columbus Foundation is a regional leader in community kindness. And today they are actually turning the energy and leadership in this room into action to feed hungry people throughout Central Ohio by making a donation to the Mid-Ohio Food Bank for every person here. Let's thank them for their kindness. As MORPC builds strong relationships across Central Ohio, you know we depend on great board leadership. And so from our committee chairs to our executive committee and to our officers, we're really privileged to have some of the region's best leaders guiding us. And I'd like to welcome them. Please join me in welcoming MORPC's officers, our Chair Rory McGinnis, Vice Chair Karen Angelou, and Secretary Eric Janis.
Thank you, William, for your opening remarks. MORPC is fortunate to have an extremely devoted and talented team that is always willing to go the extra mile to improve our community and provide value to our members. I'd like to take a moment to thank William and the entire MORPC team for your exemplary service and leadership. Let's give them a round of applause. For those that do not know me, I am a Deputy Director at the City of Columbus Department of Development, and I'm honored to serve as the chair of MORPC's board. I'm privileged to not only work for the City of Columbus, but with all of you to continue to make Central Ohio a prominent place to live, work, and play. Most of all, I want to thank all of you for all you do to serve our region. Now let's begin with our 2019 State of the Region Awards ceremony with the Regional Leadership Award. The Regional Leadership Award recognizes people in our 15-county region who make extraordinary efforts for the future of our communities. This award represents MORPC's dedication to addressing issues that go beyond community boundaries and that embrace visionary thinking. This year's winner is Jean Carter Ryan with the Columbus-Franklin County Finance Authority. Please join us on stage.
Look at this.
Okay. So do you want me? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You know, Jean was almost like an urban legend. You know, you heard about her.
Actually,
very much behind the scenes to make things happen.
She is a detail-oriented finance person, and that is something that I think is a unique characteristic and skill that she brings to the table.
I think her leadership skills speak for themselves because she has been asked to lead in so many other areas.
Be it in her role at the Ohio Department of Development, the Columbus-Franklin County Finance Authority, or any number of the board seats that she's held, she is consistently insightful, thoughtful, and impactful.
I believe that she makes projects happen that may not ordinarily happen. They are about improving the lives of individuals who they know and those who they don't know.
I'm sure Jean wouldn't consider herself a trailblazer, but I do. And I'm sure for every woman in economic development in the state of Ohio, they've looked to Jean or talked to Jean for mentoring at one point or another.
She also was a good role model for working full-time and working hard, and also raising a beautiful family, which she and Tim have done.
She's lived the things that she really believes in.
You know, she can see the things that she's helped accomplish, and I know what drives her is she always wants everything to be done with excellence.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you so much. I hadn't seen that video before, and obviously my family members are here giving the big shout out, and there are pictures of them in that video. So, you know, there's an old Russian proverb that says, if you're born lucky, even your rooster will lay an egg. And you know, I've been born lucky. I'm a very fortunate person with my family who are just so wonderful, with my friends, many of whom are in this room. Economic development is just a place where you can have so much of an impact, helping companies be able to create jobs and retain jobs in Central Ohio. And I've just always felt so fortunate in terms of my work career that it's had purpose. And I think purpose is so important for everything that we do. My children do it working with underserved kids. My husband does the same, and I'm in this room with you all, grateful every day that I've had the chance to work with you. So thank you so much. Very surprised and very honored by this award. Thank you.
Our next award is the William H. Anderson Excellence in Public Service Award. This award recognizes a current or past MORPC board member who has made a significant contribution to MORPC, the community, and our region. William H. Anderson, a longtime MORPC board member, was the epitome of a civic volunteer who is remembered for the zeal with which he championed MORPC's mission and goals. And this year's recipient is Union County Commissioner Steve Stolte.
Of course, Steve is a leader in Union County and helping to move it forward, whether it was as engineer or now as county commissioner. But he's also a regional leader, and at MORPC, he helped us to create the Sustainability Advisory Committee and be its first co-chair. He also helped us to knit 7 counties together with Rural Transportation Services for the first time and chair that effort of the Central Ohio Rural Planning Organization, or CORPO. And when it comes to new technology, he helped them create the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor.
It's not common to find someone like him who really thinks so far out about what investments he made into people, things, or infrastructure, or community services. And he's very unique in that regard.
His passion for transportation planning, for regional collaboration and cooperation, shows through MORPC, shows through his job as county commissioner for Union County.
He really helps you think differently and really come up with new ideas. And not to mention, for such a regional leader and such a longtime leader in Union County, he's so modest about his accomplishments.
He cares about people. and he cares about his community, and he cares about the people he serves.
Steve has this passion and this curiosity about Union County, its people, and its history, and this wealth of knowledge about it. And if you haven't talked to him about covered bridges, you need to ask him for a tour of the covered bridges.
Steve clearly puts anything he can into his community and the place in which he lives. And it's pretty remarkable to see he is actually a person that I look up to know how I want to be and how I want to treat my community.
Well, thank you so much. I feel very, very honored and humbled to be able to stand here before you. I accept this honor, and I appreciate everyone. I've always looked at it, I got to be the leader. I got to be the one who kind of set the goal, put air in the ball, but there were a whole bunch of people that really made it happen. I applaud everyone at the Union County table that I get to work with on a daily basis. And I've got to know many of you over the years, and I appreciate your friendships. So thank you so much.
Wow, isn't this great? Today, I have the honor of presenting the William C. Habig Collaborative Award. This honor represents outstanding efforts and innovation in creating partnerships and sharing resources. This award captures the dedication to collaboration of Bill Habig. Bill served as MORPC's executive director for over 30 years. And today he continues to serve the region as a current MORPC board member representing Granville Township. Now, here it comes, drum roll. The year's award goes to the Metropolitan Emergency Communications Regional Council of Governments. I'm inviting the representatives of the COG to come to the stage.
What is the address of the emergency?
Maplewood. Our kitchen's on fire right now.
When life is on the line, we rely on our local governments to have the resources to take care of us. When we need help because of a fire, medical, or rescue emergency, seconds count to save precious time and to save lives. To improve the way that 911 dispatching is delivered to their residents, a group of local government agencies came together to build the Fire Rescue Dispatch Center of the future. The Metropolitan Emergency Communications Consortium, or the MEC, began in 2004 as a group of fire department consolidated dispatching services for Mifflin, Jefferson, and Plain townships, and later expanded to include Truro and Violet townships and the city of Whitehall. In 2016, after expanding its shared services to include information technology and EMS medical direction, the consortium became the MEC Regional Council of Governments. The group's technology services brought 911 dispatch centers from Bexley, Gahanna, Licking County, New Albany, and Whitehall into the collaboration. Collectively, these groups serve an additional 21 fire departments and 13 law enforcement agencies. Residents can now count on improved emergency response times using state-of-the-art technology that offers shared, real-time information and access to hundreds of emergency vehicles at once. And that gets first responders to you faster when time is most critical. State of Ohio paramedics and EMTs operate under a protocol system supervised by a physician. A regional shared EMS medical direction service is also in place for 17 fire departments in Franklin, Fairfield, and Licking counties. Residents, businesses, and travelers who experience a medical emergency receive seamless, life-saving treatment under a single system of care. It's also being expanded to include 911 dispatchers who provide pre-arrival life-saving instructions until the moment help arrives. The MEC operates from the highest level of cooperation, where jurisdictional boundaries, both real and perceived, are blurred for the good of residents and taxpayers. Relationships have been built on the common goal of improved services through shared services. Governance of the MEC is a true partnership where every decision is made together. Since purchasing and operating costs are shared across communities, the MEC has saved millions of taxpayer dollars. From the strategic direction of elected officials to the everyday life or death actions of dispatchers and first responders, the MEC is setting an example for all public safety agencies.
Okay, we're going to start the fire department there now, okay?
Yes.
All right. What a great collaboration. This is what we're all about, is the region coming together and local governments figuring out how to deliver better services. So I'm really excited to introduce our last award, which is a special one. And we all know that Columbus is a sports town. We're also a collaboration town. If you're a Blue Jackets fan, you know this is an exciting time. This next award is about both. We call it the Massive Collaboration Award, and it's a new award this year that recognizes organizations for their efforts and accomplishments that are related to a very unique set of circumstances that has impacted our region, and I know that you know what I'm talking about. This year's recipient is a community-changing effort called Save the Crew. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on up.
With the Columbus Crew Soccer Club, victory doesn't only happen on the field. It happens when an entire community comes together, united around a shared purpose, to save the crew. Rather than see the crew packed up and sent out of state, a massive movement began. Save the Crew involved fans from around the world who love the team and, in the face of overwhelming odds, were willing to take a stand for the words they have so often chanted with heart: Columbus till I die. The grassroots movement was the impetus behind public and private partners teaming up to keep the crew where it belonged in Columbus. Thanks to the efforts of crew fans, the Columbus Partnership, the Edwards and Haslam families, and officials from the city of Columbus, Franklin County, and the state of Ohio, Save the Crew culminated in a deal for a new stadium under new ownership. A deal that effectively required 18 months of work in 7 weeks. The new 20,000-seat stadium, just west of the Arena District, will include multi-purpose sports, community, entertainment, commercial, and residential facilities. It marks a new beginning, but also the continuation of a spirit that has endured in Columbus since the Crew's founding 25 years ago. Save the Crew is one more example of the Columbus way, and it will serve as an inspiring tribute to Columbus and the surrounding region for years to come.
Let's give them a standing ovation. This is a really big deal to have this team stay. And we're going to invite Mayor Ginther to the stage to thank.
Thank you all very much on behalf of those of us up on stage and all the incredible partners that made this happen. There are those that are seen and then folks throughout this community that stepped up in such a significant way to do something that has never been done in the history of professional sports. That is when a commissioner and a former owner decides that a team is leaving its hometown, its birthplace. Columbus had a different story to tell, and it was because of the incredible men and women of this community that the Crew are an important part of our past, our present, and our future. Radical regional collaboration. What an incredible story this is. But this wasn't just about a soccer team. It was also about leveraging private investment to strengthen our neighborhoods with affordable housing, good-paying jobs, and record minority participation. Creation of a Columbus Community Sports Park in conjunction with the training facility at the current Montfray Stadium site. Community involvement that will better youth engagement through sports. Public and private. The community, driven by passion for our team, but for the residents of Columbus. We are very proud to receive this award to the county commissioners, to the Haslam family, to the Edwards family, to the men and women who started the Save the Crew movement. Said, not in our town, not on our watch, not our team. We say thank you. Well, in addition to helping to save the Crew, one of the highlights of my first term as mayor was the Smart City Challenge win for this community with the U.S. Department of Transportation. I've been in office about 2 months when Columbus was named one of 8 finalists for a $50 million grant to help transform mobility in Central Ohio. We were up against other great American cities, Austin, Denver, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Portland, and San Francisco. Many of those cities had well-established mass transit and extensive public transportation systems. But when Alex Fisher and I met privately with Secretary Fox and his right hand, Mark Dowd, at the World Economic Forum, he was very clear that this wasn't about where we were, but where this award and radical regional collaboration in our community could take us. That's what they were seeking. What we would do to make the most of this opportunity. It was a pivotal moment for our team and gave us the clarity to make our proposal not about moving people from point A to point B, but to lifting up our residents onto ladders of opportunity. If innovation and technology are some of the great drivers of the future of this city and this country, this world, what about leveraging innovation and technology to empower people to help improve their own lives? One of the key parts of our application was helping to connect expecting moms to prenatal appointments, to other incredible, important things in the lives of them and their expecting child. It's exciting to share with you that we've reduced our infant mortality rate in this community already by 23%. And later this year, because of the Smart Columbus work and all of our regional partners here, we'll be launching real-time mobility delivery for expecting moms through an app, a common payment system, a multimodal trip planning, all because of Smart Columbus and because we've been focused on connecting the disconnected and opening up ladders of opportunity for the people of this community. From 2013 to 2017, Secretary Fox served as the 17th United States Secretary of Transportation, leading an agency with more than 55,000 employees and a $70 billion budget, whose primary goal was to ensure that America maintains the safest, most efficient transportation system in the world. Under Fox's leadership, the Department of Transportation recognized the importance of innovation in changing not just how we get around, but what our cities look like in the future. His forward-thinking work is visible, as I mentioned, right here in Columbus, as we implement the Smart Columbus Initiative. Secretary Fox now brings his considerable expertise to Lyft, where he serves as the Chief Policy Officer. Came across a quote recently that guides our work at Smart Columbus and so many of our partnerships in this community. And I thought this spoke to the work of Secretary Fox's career, back to when he was mayor of Charlotte, Secretary of Transportation, and in his current role now with Lyft. Make no mistake, innovation isn't about ideas, it's about solving problems. The truth is that nobody cares about what ideas you have. They care about the problems you can solve for them. The reason that most people can't innovate isn't because they don't have ideas, but because they lack the perseverance needed to stick with a really tough problem until it's cracked. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm Central Ohio welcome to one of our greatest champions and allies, Secretary Anthony Fox.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor, for that rousing introduction. It is always good to be here in Columbus, Ohio. I was told last night over dinner that there was something I had to do at the beginning. We'll see if my advice that I was given was correct. O-H. All right. Got that started out. Then I was also told to say, go Jackets. Apparently a pretty big victory for for the Old Jackets. So congratulations and good luck on the next phase of the playoffs. It's great to be here. Let me say to William and the team here at MORPC, thank you so much for inviting me to talk to you a little bit today. Now that I'm in the private sector, don't have all of the instrumentalities of government at my fingertips, to give you a perspective on where you sit in the context of not just transportation, but the overall effort that's really been an effort since mankind was at the beginning to figure out not only how we can move places faster and better, but how we can make the human experience more meaningful, which I think is actually a more important goal than any technology. I want to start out by telling you a little bit about me. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, the home of Michael Jordan, the home of Steph Curry. Sorry, some of you. Although he was born in Cleveland, believe it or not. But 47 years ago, I was born in a part of Charlotte, North Carolina, the northwest part of the city, in a little split level, 1,900 square feet, that was circumscribed by freeways. When I looked out of the front door, I could see I-77. And if I walked out in the front yard and turned to the right, I could see I-85. And there were fences that more or less locked in my neighborhood. As a child, I didn't understand this as a socioeconomic phenomenon. It was just my neighborhood. But over time, what I started to realize as I went into school and started to see more of what was beyond those walls that I saw when I woke up in the morning, I started to understand that the decisions that were made 50, 40, 30 years earlier were made with the idea that the area that I grew up in was an area to go through. But it was not an area to go to. Society had all but said to me as a child, you don't matter. Your ambitions don't matter. And statistically, if you had said on my birthday in 1971, if you had said, well, this is going to be the future transportation secretary, the future mayor of our city, no one would have believed you. And so I stand here to some extent representing those people. I don't care where they live, urban, rural, suburban. I don't care what their race is. But those people who are out there who are hungry to make a difference in this world and to do something to make their lives meaningful, not only to them and their families, but to society in general. Those people are out there. You can go out to the Long Street Bridge today and you can spend quite a bit of time watching and learning about the history of the King Lincoln neighborhood and the people whose lives were changed by the creation of a freeway. Much like your grandparents, William. So, the context in which I want to talk to you today is not so much about all of the great things about technology. It's that the fundamental problem we still face, the fundamental challenge that we still have, is how do we build a future in which everybody is a part of it? How do we build an inclusive future with all of these amazing tools of technology that are available to us? And the simple message, my friends, is that our default systems won't do it. Our old ways of thinking won't do it. And by the way, I love engineers. I said this earlier today. Some of my best friends are engineers. Okay? Let me make this point. But engineers are trained to solve a problem. And if the problem isn't defined well enough for them, they will solve it in a narrow fashion. And so for all of us, whether we're building physical structures or whether we're building technologies or doing some mixture of the two, the fundamental challenge of how we all live in the same space, how we see each other as neighbors and friends and fellow travelers on the path of progress as a country, as a community, as a state, those challenges are still with us. And no one has yet figured out the best way to do that. Now, let me tell you something else. So, fast forward a little bit. I get elected to local government, and one of the best things, Mayor, that we did, every third Monday in Charlotte, we had a zoning meeting. And man, if you want a riveting meeting to attend, you go attend a zoning meeting. Oh my goodness. Every month. Well, in these zoning meetings, we were making decisions about, should we have 3 residential units to the acre, or should we zone for multifamily, or where should the density be, and so forth. And over time, I started to develop an interest in actually going out and looking at these sites. And I went out to one greenfield area once, and they showed me this major mixed-use development they were doing. The developer walked me down where the road would be. We made a left turn, and he said, this is going to be the grand corridor, and you're going to have storefronts that are going to align the streets, and over those storefronts are going to be live-work units. And then right at the end, there's going to be a hotel on this side, and if you turn around and look backwards, there's going to be a movie theater on that side, and people are going to stroll through this area. Now, for you planners, you understand what I'm leading up to, but for the rest of you, what I learned and what I understood was that our built environment, even though we think we're making choices all the time to turn left and turn right and go straight and do it, everything, every movement we make, even in this convention center, has been thought about intimately. And we may make spontaneous choices to go one way or another, but those choices are shaped by how the built environment is shaped. And that is the key to why I got interested in transportation in the first place. Because I understood that it was for me, the difference in my life, a lot of it came down to the fact that even incidental, spontaneous interactions with people you don't know connect you to that person and their experiences in ways that, frankly, I think technology is challenging us against doing today. You can put on your earbuds and walk down the street and walk past 25 people. We're starting to have a little problem now of people actually distracted walking. And technology can be a force for good, but it can also be a force that actually puts us more into to our own pods of thinking and intersecting with other people. So when I went to the U.S. Department of Transportation, I was a little bit like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. A lot of people in Washington who've been there years and years were like, who is this guy? What does he know? And the one thing I knew when I went to Washington was that Washington couldn't solve every problem I faced back in my community. I knew that there was a well-store of innovation waiting to happen at the local level. And if the levers of government were maneuvered just right, maybe we could unlock some of that innovation. So my staff came to me maybe a year or two into my tenure, and they said, we've got an idea of a technology challenge. And we started talking through it. And from the day we started talking about this challenge, it took us a full year before we announced that we were doing the Smart City Challenge. And a large part of it was because the federal government historically doesn't do challenges that provide an open-ended invitation to local communities to invent the future. It's not what the federal government does. We typically wanted to, we give money out for you to build a road. We want to come out and look at the road. Or to buy a transit bus, and we want to go out and look at the bus. But how many times has your federal government ever said, we know the solutions are out there, we need to create the laboratory for those solutions to actually come to bear? That's what we endeavored to do. So we opened up the Smart City Challenge. We had 70 some odd cities apply. And from my vantage point, the challenge had already done its job, in the sense that what we had done is we'd given local communities an incentive to think outside the lines, to really think about how they could harness technology to solve the problems they faced. And we were deliberate in not being prescriptive. We didn't want to tell you to buy X number of electric vehicles or X number of autonomous shuttles or what have you. We wanted to lay out broad parameters and let Columbus figure out how Columbus wanted to fit into that, or Portland, or the other cities the mayor mentioned. So I had an opportunity to meet Alex Fisher and Mayor Ginther, as they said, and one of our early conversations, I think the question, I may be misremembering this, Mayor, but one of the questions was, can we really win this thing? And I said, absolutely you can win it. And as we went through the process, we down selected to 7 cities. Columbus was one of the 7. And we went through another process around that. And let me tell you why Columbus won. You won because you had real conviction about the problems you faced. You had real urgency around using this grant as a way to tackle those challenges. And frankly, for all the work that you all did and all the collaboration to actually win the Smart City Challenge, we knew, and I think you knew, that the real hard work lie ahead. Those hard conversations with communities that have historically been underserved, who are now being invited to the table and may not feel quite as eager because of past experience. The push-pull between the various pieces of the business community and the public, trying to figure out how to balance those equities. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't think these challenges are unique to Columbus. Even working through those is creating the progress our country and our world need. There's another thing that I should also mention, and the mayor has talked about this. You know, we go to a lot of places. I don't know about you, but you know, when I'm doing a job interview with someone, and everything they have to say is awesome about themselves, I'm kind of thinking a little skeptically about it. So we go to all these cities, and it's like, man, we got the best this, we got the best that, we got the best other thing, we got this, that, do. And I'm like, man, really? When we came to Columbus, you guys, like, you've got a big cheerleading section here, by the way. You've got major universities and thought leadership. You've got an incredible auto sector that's got so much to it. You've got healthcare and insurance and financial services. You've got an amazing story to tell. And by the way, you should never, ever feel bashful about telling that story. It is an amazing story. But you're also clear-eyed about your challenges, infant mortality being one of them. And I'll tell you, I've been all around the world. I've been in a lot of places. And 98% of the conversation around smart cities is about technology. And what my fear is, and the reason why this challenge and this grant are so critical, not just to you, but to the world, is because in its criteria, we focused on not just the technology, not people serving the technology, but the technology serving the people. That is a critical element of what you're doing. And it makes your job actually a little harder than it does in the rest of the world. But it is precisely because of that that you will set the pace for how the world views smart cities. Now, let me tell you a few other things that may not be as much fun. I think that the hard work you're doing, and I know it's hard work, I don't want to overemphasize it, but I think the hard work you're doing is exciting for several reasons. Number one, you're creating you're actually creating a smart region. So much of what I've heard today is not just about the city of Columbus, but it's about the suburban ring around Columbus and the rural ring around that, and how you're starting to integrate the thinking around this entire region. One of the things that I wanted to do as secretary was to create a dig once program. When you're doing a road construction project, that you put fiber optic cable in some of our rural areas that have historically not had access to fiber optic and the high-speed internet, and you're doing that in this region, or will be soon. We talked about creating plans that are regionally based. That is critically important. If you've got industries that are all linked together, but they fall outside of the city of Columbus or outside of Lyme or other parts of this region, it's not a license for each jurisdiction to kind of come up with its own strategy to try to capture opportunities. It's an opportunity for the region to figure out how to build on more of all of the assets it has. And you're doing that. Look, I'm excited about the autonomous shuttles. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about some of the work you're doing on drone technology. I'm excited about the DSRC technology that you're investing in and you're seeing happen in the region. But I'm more excited, and what is different here than probably anywhere else I've been, is the integration of all these different technologies and the unifying vision that sort of runs through them. That is the essence of what a smart city and a smart region should be. Look, in Charlotte, we had 5 MPOs and RPOs in our region, William. Like a family, sometimes we agreed, sometimes we didn't. It was difficult sometimes. But what I want to say to you is that your gathering today is part of a long march into the future. And every part of this region has to be included in that future. And the way that you guys have already started to build that future together is pointing the way, not only here in America, but really all over the world. So I want to leave you with a little bit of a challenge. I told you about the world I walked into. But sometime, if not today, maybe over this weekend or the next few days, I want every person in this room to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine a young person, any young person, growing up in this region. And what kind of future you imagine for that young person. A future where that young person may be safer because of the technologies that you have an opportunity to deploy, which in some corners, it's estimating 80% reductions in vehicle fatalities and deaths. I want you to imagine a future in which that person may not come from a family where someone's gone off to college, or may not even be in a place that's proximate to the best available schools or junior colleges, but there's a way that person can access transportation that's going to connect him or her to that future. I want you to maybe imagine a mom who's working 2 jobs to take care of her kids and whose trip gets cut in half because of the planning and thought processes that you all are undertaking. We're not, and you're not, in the business of just trying to build a good future. You are not, and we are not, in the game here to build a future that repeats the challenges and the problems that we inherited. No, Columbus, you've got a chance to build a better future. You've got a chance to right some of the wrongs and to bring all of Ohio and all of America together and all the world with you. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. But you're the tip of the spear. And we picked you because you could handle it. And I look forward to coming back here year after year. By the way, as a transportation secretary, you kind of live a little bit through the things that you did as secretary. And I would often, in the cabinet room, we'd be sitting there, and I'll close on this. We would sit in the cabinet room, and I'd look across the table, and the only person who really understood my job, other than the president, of course, about as well as I did, was Arnie Duncan, who was our education secretary. And I used to talk to Arnie about this because we had the only 2 jobs in the cabinet that get defined by what happens over the next 20 years. And so for me, my heart is full being here in Columbus today because I know you all are on the right track. I know you all are struggling with the right things. And it's okay to struggle a little bit here. Because if you struggle over the right things, you're more likely to get to the right answer. And if you get to the right answer, you create the template for someone else, the next city, the next state. So folks, thank you so much. It's great to be with you. I'm enjoying my time here in Columbus, but mostly I'm enjoying the future you all are building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We are so pleased to have you here, and challenge accepted. We are working on this. We're done. Thank you so much for being at the State of the Region. Don't forget to pick up a Business First insert on your way out. It summarizes everything. Have a great, great rest of the week. We'll see you next year.